Scott Pilgrim vs. the World follows an incompetent bass guitarist, Scott Pilgrim, played by Michael Cera, who meets Ramona Flowers, played by Mary Elizabeth Winston. In order for him to date her, he has to defeat her 7 evil exes. The other day, a friend of mine texted me saying, "I just watched Scott Pilgrim and it sucked. I thought you said it was good." I will say Scott Pilgrim vs. the World isn't for everyone, but I appreciate how the film attempts to be funny without using raunchy sex humor to project laughs. I don't have anything against raunchy comedies, but that kind of humor has been done to death. You have to understand or know these kinds of people. These kinds of hipsters, whether you are one of them or not. I mean, with the setting in Toronto and the indie band characters wearing handbands, the love for 80s video games and other various pop culture references in it, this isn't exactly the ideal film for individuals who shop at Hollister and are captain of the football team. That isn't to say that this film is condescending to those hipsters or to anyone else. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World has the perfect combination of humor found in dialogue, situations, characters, and surprisingly visual touches. It's also an interesting take on the guy fighting to get the girl, as he literally has to fight. The movie blends anime, video game references, and comic book touches so effectively as these 3 things aren't exactly to everyone's taste. This is all due to the talents of Edgar Wright. Despite his film still feeling a tad bit bloated, running around 15 minutes too long, Wright, who has directed the zombie comedy Shaun of the Dead and the buddy cop comedy Hot Fuzz, makes films that are highly energetic with a lot of detail and the exact right performances. I'll save the trouble and say that the cast are perfectly suited for their roles, and they're all equally funny in their own way. My biggest concern was Michael Cera. Yeah, he was born for this role, but as of lately I've found him somewhat boring, especially in films like Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. There are a lot of qualities in Scott Pilgrim that are similar to his past ones, except that Scott Pilgrim is kind of a jerk. He doesn't mean to be, but his lack of confidence actually causes him to use or mistreat people. He's self-deprecating for the most part, but this bizarre take on a romantic comedy allows him to develop rather than just trying to fight to get the girl. Besides Cera, I'll add that Mary Elizabeth Winston is perfect as Ramona, a refreshingly flawed love interest who can hold her own, and she actually has her own voice. By the end of the picture, there is somewhat of a visual overload like an anime just waiting to give its viewers some sort of seizure. The funny thing is how well the action is handled. The choreography is spot on, and not only is it entertaining, but just like Hot Fuzz, it's also rather funny. Still though, it wouldn't have hurt Wright to take out 1 or 2 of the exes to make a smoother picture, though don't ask me which fight he should have removed. After all, none of these exes feel too similar to another. For whatever reason, these kinds of self-aware films seem to go over the heads of many. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they just don't have the kind of humor that an individual likes. My point is that most action films or romantic comedies are not a realistic depiction of life regardless, so what could possibly be wrong about being a little self-aware? At no point does this film attempt to convince audiences that this takes place within the real world. It embraces its graphic novel origins, and there is barely a wasted frame where there isn't something interesting going on. You know, I thought I would be the last person to say this, but when regarding Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, my only suggestion is to lighten up and accept the film for what it is. Though the film didn't find a large audience in theaters, it has found one on DVD, and hopefully that will continue. This is a cult film if there ever was one. On the personal rating system, I rate it a watch it. That's it from the Movie Rewind. Have a good day, folks. Until next time.